Well, pick up this frame at our local charity shop and it only cost me 50 pence. What's that, 75 cents? But it's a nice enough frame, but it's not what I want. I want it to be a little bit more funky. So what I'm going to do is funky it up a little bit, or what I class as funky. First thing I'm going to do is give it a bit of a sand, because I'm not sure what this is, and also it will mean that whatever I use on here will grip onto it much easier. I'm not trying to make it smooth or anything like that. I just want to be able to get a grip on it. A lot of people have told me I need to get a grip. So I'm just giving it a rough up, going in all different directions, and also these edges as well. So there we go, that's that done. Oh, what I'm going to do now is give that a wipe over to get rid of some of the dust. Oh yeah, I can feel that. That is much better surface now for me to be able to do some stuff with that. I can't wait to see what it looks like at the end. I love recycling and repurposing things. It is such a pleasure to do. Did you see the poker table I made out of that old wire reel? Honestly, that is one of my most favourite things I've ever made. So now that's all done, I've got an idea of what I want to do in my head, and I want to make it a little bit industrial but clashing with some flowers. So I've got this like industrial pipe mould, and I've got these flower moulds. So what I'm going to make this out of is my smooth casting paste, and this really does dry rock hard, and it's a recipe that I put together a while back. The video on the recipe is on this channel. It's also on my website, but free of charge. You don't have to pay for it. So I've got my powder in there, and then I've got my special mixture here. And all I need to do is mix them together until I get a paste of the consistency that I'm looking for. I want it nice and smooth, and it's so easy to make. You've probably got everything that you need for this in your art room anyway. I'm so messy. Look at all that powder that's just gone everywhere. So that's the sort of consistency I'm looking for, which is a thick paste. And now I can fill these moulds up. And this doesn't take too long to dry. I will put it in a warm place. I'll probably put it in my resin curing machine for a couple of hours, and then these will be done. And that gives me time to be able to work on this. And it smooths out lovely, and you can pipe this in bags if you want. You can put it in a piping bag and pipe it and do all sorts of lovely shapes. So these are all ready now to be dried, and I'm going to put them in my tumbling curing machine that I've adapted to take all sorts of different things. Such a great product this is. And then turn that on for a couple of hours and they should be cured. While those pieces are drying in the dry machine, what I'm going to do is cover this with some kitchen paper. The reason I'm going to cover it with kitchen paper is it's quite easy to get a texture on it, and I want this base to be textured. Also, it will allow me to stick all the bits that I want to stick to it much easier going forward. Now, I've got the straight edges here from the kitchen paper, and that is what I'm going to try and line up with these edges here, like that, just to give it a neater bit of a finish there. The rest of it doesn't matter, because I want that to be textured. All I'm using here is a little PVA glue with a tiny bit of water put in it. And there we go, that's giving me that texture. And I will go over and I'll overlap it as well as I go round, and then allow that to dry. By the time this is dried, everything else should be dried as well. Again, I'm going to line up my edges and then just keep going round. If I get some little creases in this, I'm happy, because I want it to be looking a bit more textured. So I may put some in it on purpose. I'm going to take the pipes out before they're fully cured. They've only had about an hour in there, because I want them to break up a little bit, but I don't want them to crumble up, so I want them to look quite old. That one's come out quite full. Well, that one hasn't. Look, that one's cracked. Now, if I were to leave them in for probably 2 or even more hours, then I would get solid pipes out of them, like that one. But I don't want that. No, that one might be... I should have left that one in a little bit longer. When they crack, when they're a little bit wet, they get... I don't know, it always seems to me to be a much more natural crack rather than a fake crack where you've broken them. I'm going to put some more in and then carry on doing that. I might leave the next lot to cure fully, so I've got a variety of pipes to use. Well, this is all lovely and dry now, and I'm going to give it, oddly enough, a coat of black. But this isn't just any old black. This is a black mixed with a gold acrylic paint, and I've also watered it down a little bit as well. So you can't see now that this had this silver bit going around it that was indented. It's all become one frame, and it does have a nice bit of texture on there as well, which is ready for me to put the bit on that I've made as soon as they're finished drying. And also for me then to finish it off. Well, all my pieces are lovely and dry. Everything's dry now, and I've played around with them and put them where I want them, and I really like them like this. So what I'm going to do is glue them down. Now I'm going to be using a really thick glue for this, but it's a really thick PVA glue. It's a wood glue. This is the one I'm using. And I will let this cure up, and that will stick to there. Lovely. It's really easy to use. All I'm going to do is, now I've got everything where I want it, I can just paint on the back of each piece like that, and then put it back down where I've placed it. I can go around all the pieces like this, gluing them down and making sure they're in the right place. Gentle push on them as well, just to make sure that it adheres well to what I'm using. I can go round and work my way all the way around this frame doing this. I can't wait for this to be finished. I think it's going to look great. I really like the way that the pipes contrast with the flowers. And I think when it's painted and done, it's going to look awesome. This is all lovely and dry now. None of these bits are going to go anywhere. They're stuck on there forever. What I'm going to do is give these all a paint with the same paint that I used for the actual frame as well, because I want them to be well covered and sealed, really, ready for when I do the next bit. So while that's drying, I'm going to make my picture, and I know what size it needs to be by this back frame, so I'm going to cut out my piece of paper and then make my picture. I think this is going to really suit what I've got planned for that frame as well, this picture. So that's now giving me the right size piece of card to put in that frame. Well, I'm ready to paint this now. And what I'm going to do is try and give it a bronze effect. I'm going to use my little shot glasses here. And if anyone wants to know how I made this, because I keep knocking paints over and resin over when I mix it up in shot glasses. So I made this. There's a video on my other channel. It's a quick one, and it is such a useful gadget. And you can make it with just your leftover resin. That's what's great. And now I'm using it, and I've made several of them. So I can get my paint in there, and they're my different colours. I'm using a gold, copper, and a bronze paint. And I'm probably going to use a bit of this as well, which is the remainder of the stuff that I had mixed up to coat everything with. But I want to lighten that up a little bit with a little bit more gold. And now I'm going to add some water to these. Don't want them as thick. I'm doing it as about a 1-to-1, to be honest. And then give them a stir and mix that all in. And I'm not going to knock these over. So make sure you got it all mixed in, the water and the paint. Well, I'm ready to do this now. So what I'm going to go first over is with this bronze colour. I'm just going to dab this on in places all the way around at the moment. Still leaving some of that black coming through. It's under it, or that black and gold coming through. So I've got enough of that on there for now, and I want to let that dry. Oh, wow. I'm not going to let it dry naturally. I'm going to do it with my hairdryer. Okay, that's dryish. I'm going to go over it with the gold, doing exactly the same thing. This time, I'm going to dab that gold off, just using a bit of kitchen towel. Okay, that'll do. Let that dry for a few secs. Okay, now I'm going to do the same thing with that neat bronze. Well, it's not neat, it's mixed down with water, but there's no black in it. Okay, let that dry. Okay, now I'm going to do the same thing with the copper. And now I'm going to go over it again with this dark, like this, all the way over, all the way around. But I'm only going to dab off top areas here. I'm going to let that sit and move around wherever that wants to go and dry. I'm going to leave it for about 2 hours before I do the next stage, just to give it some highlights. And then before I varnish it as well, to give it that extra bit of protection. Well, this is all dry now, and what I'm going to do is dry brush over the top of that with a little bit of gold to highlight a few bits. And all I'm going over is the top of things rather than trying to get anywhere else. I don't want there to be any bits other than where it would look like it had worn. Now I'm going to mix a tiny bit of white. I want to lighten that gold up completely here and dab that in, and then take most of that off, and then again go over it. And now what I'm going to do is leave that overnight to completely dry before I varnish it, and it will really make a difference putting a varnish on it. Well, this is all lovely and dry now, and what I'm going to do is varnish it. I'm going to use satin varnish because I don't want it to look glossy. Now I'm going to go through it really gently, make sure I get it all covered over. And I may only give it one coat. It depends how well it looks covered once it's had one coat. Because if it's a little bit patchy, I actually don't mind that, because I think in a way that is going to add to it. But I'll see when it's dry, because I might see it and I might think, no, don't do that. That looks awful. It's not going to take me many minutes to ensure that this is fully covered. And this only cost me 50p. I know it's my time, but I love how the pictures come out that I'm going to put in it as well, so you'll get to see that in a second. Big thank you to everyone that got me a coffee last month. I really do appreciate your coffees. They do help me be able to keep making videos on this channel, and I love the little messages as well that people send me. I love reading them. It means the world to me. And if you want to get your name on my coffee board and help me to save up and buy more crafting kits and crafting things so I can keep making videos, then the link for that is in the description below. Well, it's all finished now. I'm so pleased with it. The picture I made, I tried to do something a bit gothic-y and almost like Victorian style. And if you want to know how I make these pictures, I've done a video on it. It is so easy, quick, easy, and you can get some great results using up all your old card as well. And I'll link that video at the end of this one. I'm really pleased with that, I have to say. The varnish on it makes it finish really nicely. It's lovely and solid. And for a 50p frame as well. I mean, you don't have to do the contrast of like pipes and flowers. You could put anything on it. Using my sculpting paste, you can do so much, and it's so easy and lovely and hard. Hope you've enjoyed this video as much as I've enjoyed making this. Boop that like button, hit that subscribe button, and check out the videos as well that are coming up now in the card above. But most of all, take care and enjoy your crafting. Bye.